And welcome to Metaphysical Perspective's first live video broadcast. We're going to try and get out the kinks here, so hopefully we don't have too many. And actually, hopefully you're actually hearing us. And if somebody in the chat room could do us a favor, please, on either the YouTube chat room or the Metaphysical Perspectives chat room on mysticalwares.com webpage, I'd appreciate it. So we know that we're actually streaming, for one thing. But yeah, so my name is Derek Condit, and this is Jalissa Helms. Want to say hi?
Hello, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here.
And again, like I mentioned, this is our first live streaming of the Metaphysical Perspectives podcast, which gives us now the option, of course, for video. And we're not going to have the same images and whatnot that are cycling down below the bottom. Some shows, the microscope that's over here behind my desk, we're going to break out, put up here on the desk and get some stuff under it and look at it. We'll probably grab lots of trinkets and widgets from our office here as well. Oh, actually, because this is the first show, I do want to mention, well, wait a minute, it looks like they have the same background, because we do. What you can't see if we were on one camera is Jalissa, and hopefully I lined the cameras up such that I'm actually pointing at her. Is sitting here and we share an office here. So that's why you'll see a similar backdrop, just skewed a little bit is what's going on. So,
yeah, so hi, now I'm like, oh no, I can't hide my RBF face.
Yeah.
Y'all know what that is. Oh, but they said in chat that yes, we can be seen and we can be heard. So
awesome. And I have to stop looking this way because she's sitting just a few feet from me. It's gonna look really weird, but you'll see my hand in there. So I have to get used to this whole the whole video setup to where we're sitting like this. But hopefully it works out well. And I'm glad you can all hear us. Thank you for that, Nancy. I appreciate that. And Nancy's going to be one of our future guests on this podcast as well. So today we have, again, just our intro video live stream. So we're going to be all over the place. We do have the 2 chat rooms up. So if you have questions, feel free to put them in there. Jalissa's going to be a whole lot quicker than I am on picking up on those. Did you want to jump straight in?
well, I just found out that Nancy wasn't going to be on here with us. So I was like, oh no, what? And then Crystal just commented on YouTube chat, where's Nancy though? So she is here in chat. So she'll be still helping us out in the background, of course, with questions. So please, this is interactive. If you have any questions, just go ahead and put it in chat and I will be following through with that. And get it.
Actually, I tried to pull Nancy through behind the scenes. The only reason Nancy's not here is because of my issues on the techie side, trying to set up because I'm broadcasting from the same computer, linking all these videos and images, and I was having latency issues, it's called, bandwidth issues, internet speed, getting too many videos and audios. So actually what we can do in the future also is bring Nancy in maybe via audio only, and then we have our video and stuff. So again, this is just a first video live stream of the podcast, so we can get out the kinks if there are any and see how it all works out. But no, Nancy hasn't gone anywhere.
Yeah, and so we will have future guests, and we most definitely will have Walt back on as a guest. So somebody was asking about Walt. So yes, video, we're not sure. We will ask our guests like what they are comfortable with, and we'll have that option open if it will just be audio or if they don't mind a video. So yeah,
and each one will be different because actually we have Paranormal Karen Rontowski, fantastic comedian from the metaphysical community. She'll be on, I think it's January 4th, on the Metaphysical Perspectives podcast. So she'll be interesting. And then again, we're going to have Nancy on. Lots of individuals we're gonna have on here and get into the deep woohoo stuff with, again, the visuals. So now we can show some more stuff as I'm kind of glancing around my desk here.
Yeah, and we will also be having an astrologist at some point. So it's just getting dates down and secured for some of our guests, but we are working on that. So speaking of astrology, I guess there was a full moon yesterday. So of course the energy of the moon still has an effect a few days before and a few days after. But that was pretty intense, a lot of stuff going on. And
It was, yeah. And of course the moon, stars, all the other planets, even the unseen or unacknowledged planets have an effect on us. And we all know that. But of course, energetically wise, and I'm going to kind of, I guess, touch on a topic that might be down our list. And I'm glad, Jalissa, that our video is set, because I don't think we're going to be able to help actually looking toward each other. So on video, at least it looks that way. So hopefully it's not too awkward. But what I'm talking about is the different occurrences or circumstances or ways we perceive reality during full moons, new moons, solar activity, eclipses, things like that. And those are just, of course, huge energy changes or fluctuations in our environment that affect not just our environment, our waves and oceans and storms, us and our feelings and thoughts. So, and I don't know if you had specific notes that you wanted to get into as far as the moon stuff we talked about.
I feel like, do you believe that it hits females a little bit more than males?
Absolutely. And it may not, okay, it's going to sound a little different. So, yes, I believe it does, because often I see more females are more in their energy bodies than us guys. So, and that's not an all, encompassing statement by no means. There's huge empathic men out there as well as females. But yes, the ladies tend to be more into their emotion body, and they perceive those energies on more levels. So yeah, heightened levels of awareness would be one way you could put it, kind of thing. So heck yeah, they perceive it, and because they also know that their emotions matter. And I'm generalizing here, but of course, the ladies tend to know that emotions matter and feelings. It's not something you can just disregard, and that all ties in. So long answer there, but yes, definitely.
Yeah. So I honestly never really paid attention to the moon phases or any of that stuff, especially until I got here with Mystical Wares, and I was like, oh, and started, paying more attention to energy and the things that I would feel. So whether it be physically, emotionally, or however different ways that we can feel. And so I'm like, wow, yeah, I'll have to, when I start paying more attention, it's like, oh, it does line up to some stuff happening with the moon. So that's pretty interesting. But I'm really excited to have an astrologist come in and talk more about that, because she's way more familiar with that. I'm like, I don't know what I'm talking about. I just feel stuff.
Well, yeah, you're energy sensitive, so you perceive the energies, but she may have the spiel or 3D story to give us an enlarged understanding from here in the 3D, another way of looking at it. Not that that's the only way, and of course you know that, but for those listening, there's always ways of describing things, just to help us better have that understanding. So,
right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's just coming on.
Yeah, so on Shungite reality just a little bit ago, someone brought up time, and I thought that was super funny, because just last night, for some reason, I was in the car driving home, had my son in the back and my daughter, but my son, so our dog passed away in January. His name was Clyde, and so now we have a new puppy, and her name is Shadow. But he was saying how much he wished that Shadow could have met Clyde, and Clyde could have met Shadow. I'm like, oh, well, Shadow is very aware, and I'm sure they've already met. Clyde's still here energetically, and so he's kind of like a little confused, because I tell the kids, oh, yeah, he's here in our heart and here in our mind, our imagination. Just bring up a memory, and he's there. And then things happen, when we are talking about it, and it's pretty cool to have, to witness and see those experiences that my children have when talking about those things. But then we started trying to talk about energy and what energy is, and how we're not just this physical body, that we are more than that. And it got into talking about time, and how time is, we keep track of time, and the planetary spin. It was just fun to bring that up with my son, and how,
explain it different ways, and then they'll understand it, and that it all matters.
Right.
Yeah, they should pay attention to that stuff. I'm going to go off topic here for a moment, because I'm seeing in one of the chat rooms there's some maybe echo issues or something, and maybe you can see it more on your side. But I do want to make note, I suggest not playing the YouTube video and playing again, if you're on the mysticalwares.com website, don't hit the audio player, just leave that off. Unless you just don't want to watch the video, then you can hear us from that. But really, it's one or the other player. So I would suggest, if you're wanting to take advantage of the video aspect of it, just play the YouTube video on the website, or YouTube, Metaphysical Perspectives podcast channel page, but not both, or you'll have an echo, and then, there's going to be a delay, because we're broadcasting different ways. And the video. I'm getting so again, to babble techie in the background here, unfortunately I'm seeing what's called latency issues, internet upload drama. So our video is being delayed or segmented, so nothing we can do from this end. We do have the fastest service available here. So we're trying. Sorry for any inconsistencies, we'll say.
And so I'll be going back and forth looking at the chat. So I did miss something when we were talking about the moon and energies in women. So Sam Squatch commented saying women are able to absorb energies easier as they're more magnetic than electric.
Oh, interesting.
So, yeah.
Okay, well, that makes sense. We all learn something every day, and that makes complete sense. Okay. I assume that also would have to do with, well, I know it does, your chemical or makeup physically, your antenna, your body. So I don't care if we're talking about the iron content or even some of the widgets, and this is a Shungite cosmic bracelet I'm wearing here, on you, things like that. So that'll have an effect on your radio receiver as well, and then being from the female vehicle, oh yeah, lots of heightened chakras and or antenna, you can say. So that's interesting. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
I like that. So yeah.
Was there anything else on the moon? I'm looking through my notes here as well before we get too far off of that we had that we wanted to bring up. And we're definitely gonna have to work at get Nancy, because Nancy's so great at being, part of the show in the background, bringing us back around, keeping us on track.
Right.
And yeah. Did you want to bring up something, or were you just jump into any of this stuff?
I lost it. What I had, okay. But I did have something.
I have something.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I was going to say is, and I'm just kind of looking at my phone here in the background because I make some notes on that, of course. So what I did was, what I made a note of was, let me reread this for a minute. Okay. What a point or topic or suggestion I want to bring up on the Metaphysical Perspectives podcast, tying into the name, is looking at the metaphysical perspective. So what I'm talking about is, even us entities, we're light beings, of course, and you're walking around little bodies having that physical experience, regardless if we're aware at this moment. So, for example, right now, above Jalissa and I, and they're just above our view side here, I can see some what we call spirit guides, or past loved ones, angels, other entities. And the reason I'm bringing them up is just because often we down here in the physical reality level or channel are limiting our perception from these physical bodies, our sight, smell, taste, touch, sound, all those things, and not the metaphysical, our chakras, and there's other chakras. We forget about all these invisible entities that I'm referencing or referring to above and behind us. But that doesn't mean they're not perceiving us. So it's just something to think about, that it goes both ways. So, and I'm not saying you need to then worry about your spirit guides watching you when you go into the bathroom or something like that. No, I mean, flip the roles. How interested in that would you be if you were in spirit form and you had a little pet human down here? So, I'm not saying, I'm just saying also, but realize what you do day to day is being perceived from the metaphysical levels, other entities or individuals or energies out there. So it's just something to think about. We're always in the metaphysical, regardless if we are in our head or thought processes. So it's just something to be aware of. And what I'm basically tying that back into is the Etheric Armor or hygiene process. We talked about that in the Shungite Reality podcast on the previous show. I did do a printout or statement describing this process, and Jalissa and I can talk to see if we want to go through it again. But until we figure that out, it is available, a description of the Etheric Armory process I'm talking about on the Metaphysical Perspective /podcast or / webpage. If you scroll down, it kind of looks like a blog, but there's a description there you can click on. And that describes the Etheric Armory process of getting yourself in a whole container, in this case a C60 molecule or buckyball of love. So again, energies are out there, and tying it back, even though we're not perceiving actively or in our conscious thoughts, the metaphysical, again, they're perceiving us. That's why the armoring is important. I should keep this closer to me because I'm going to keep grabbing it. Because you're going out, in the environment, so it's a good idea to choose to have the right energies around you.
So just bringing it back to the microphone. So sorry for any technical issues. Apparently I am coming across okay, but when you're speaking, it's echoing. And I think it's our office, the walls, because we're using only one mic, and my speaker on my computer is muted, and I think there is muted as well. It's just our microphone. So we apologize for that. He's moving the microphone right now to see if that helps when he speaks. And he also, well, he does have a his voice carries, so of course it's going to bounce off the walls a little bit more.
Yeah, sorry about that. I did just change the gain. We have a Yeti mic for those who are listening. There was a little knob, and I had it on the wide pickup. But anyway, if you can, please chime in on chat and let us know if this is any better. And if not, we'll see what we can do on future broadcasts. But I hope it's at least listenable. Right?
I don't think Derek can turn his volume down, because that's not what it is. It's like it's because when you speak and where it comes from, you're
I'm too loud.
No, it's the love and intention that's coming from what you're trying to relay and get out there. I don't even know how to put that on words. Oh, it says it's much better, so maybe just
I moved it back. So it was still the issue that we were talking about. I need to tone it down and probably let's get real and slow it down some. But I did move the mic back and adjust the gain. So thank you for the input. And give us more input. If there's something we need to know, please don't be shy.
So Tort did make a comment. He says, I know for a fact is you are not on same frequency. You can shock your partner at night without even knowing you're doing it. Hugs, love, thank you for all the great information. Namaste, Mama Tort. So.
You absolutely can. Physically shock where you'll feel it sort of thing, and or affect the energies in the environment so the other people. You go to bed angry, that energy or frequency is going to be in the environment. Go to bed in love. And that doesn't have to be with a person, place, or thing, just the frequency, the thought, the calm state of being. And then that's the way the environment's going to be in your sleeping environment. So yeah, all of that's going to have an effect on not only your partner sleeping next to you, but the dreams you have that night or your levels of perception. Yeah, you can choose your dreams. You can wake up in them too.
So, Thromos, did I get that? Sorry. Commented saying that they're so familiar with hearing the show that even when seeing our faces, they hear disembodied voices. So Thromos had said that he's been listening, or they've been listening for a couple of years now. So do you have any input on that?
Yeah, what they're picking up on is not, of course, it's not just yours and my physical vehicle is talking here. There's frequencies or other channels in our environment that are here, and they're in everybody's environment, but we are pulling some in, and then depending on the viewer, in this case, or listener, on your level of perception, you're going to pick up on more of the stuff. There's always stuff in the 90%. It's up to each of us on our levels, our state of mind, our physical state as well, and our feelings and our thoughts. All that matters to tune these physical radios to how much of the etheric stuff you pick up on. So there's always that. So Thromos, I'm going to mess that name up anyway. And we're just talking about a chat name for those that don't know what we're talking about. It's a individual in one of the chat rooms. So what that person's picking up on is more of the etheric, the 90% kind of thing. So each person's going to pick up on different stuff. And if we hold, I don't want to grab too much stuff in here, but like this is just a piece of cosmic silver Shungite. Shungite we've tumbled in pure silver. You can hold this energy up, open your hands and send frequencies through video and things like that, and then different individuals are going to feel different things. But on the contrary, don't get upset if all of a sudden somebody says they're sending energies and you don't feel it. Don't think negative thoughts because of that. Maybe you have other energies around you, your own energy. So it's never all one way or another is my point here. So yeah, they're picking up on other aspects of reality.
Yeah, absolutely. And that also comes back to just being at mystical wares in this environment energetically. So right when I was reading that comment, there was a lag on the live video because I'm also watching it to make sure, to be in the chat room. So I can see that there was a delay. So just speaking about those things and what it does, energetically to our electronics and our equipment here. So hopefully we don't run into that too much, and it lets us do these live podcasts.
Yeah, and she might want to bring up, do you want to bring up some of the occurrences?
There's
however
always
vague you want to talk? Yeah.
Look, there's so many things that happen here at Mystical Wares. It's actually, it's can be very reassuring for people, or not reassuring, because some people are probably scared of it, but knowing that, I don't even know how to explain that, when something is happening that they can't see but they're feeling, and then, something flickers, light flickers, the radio goes off, or something, there's a delay and something, it's like, oh, it's just a confirmation that something is happening that they can't see.
Usually it's a tie-in, some physical manifestation, lights flickering like she's talking about, or something else, including their intuition. So they'll have that aha moment or synchronicity or epiphany. At the same time, they'll tie it together enough to grab their attention and go, wait, a glitch in the matrix. Something's going on. And we have lots of those glitches we can talk about. And I don't know, you had some examples. I don't know if you want to give some.
There's so many. So I have a couple listed, but that actually reminded me there was this one time where I was at the register and I was ringing somebody up and got like almost all, actually, no, I did get like their whole order wrapped and baggied, and Derek was there and he was talking to this individual about when he has input coming in from other entities, and this person had someone that had just passed, and you brought it up, and sometimes he's like, oh, do I say it? But it's like when they kind of keep pushing, he'll just go ahead and give the message, whatever it may be. And so this person, like right as he's sending the message, like she just like was welled up, and it was like a felt tip. It was like on the verge of crying, but it was like so quick when he was sending the message. She like, awareness of like, how did he know? They don't know each other. But at that very moment, the register just blacked out, and she had a lot of stuff that she had just bought too. So I'm like, oh, I'm just going to unwrap everything and redo it all, because Derek just, it wasn't Derek, it was just all the energy of everything happening all at once, just took it out. So
yeah, that's funny. And actually, sometimes I'll be asked to leave the whole register area. Yeah, it can happen. And so from the metaphysical perspective of that circumstance, long story short, customer in there, like she was saying, chatting, and when I started perceiving the other entity, the past loved one, and they got more in the auric field of our environment, that's when the electrical stuff starts going askew. And then depending on how much focus I have or energy I put towards communicating, electronics are going to respond to that, and individuals. So you're going to feel, and even those around us that aren't maybe in the conversation, they're still going to perceive the frequencies. You're going to feel the subtle energies, the whooshes, the shivers, the goosebumps, things like that. And then, it can be a hindrance, especially with lights and cash registers and stuff like that.
Yeah, just about every time we have a aura reading that I'm going to do in the office, I have to tell the equipment that I love it before I do anything, because, I don't know, the camera usually is what goes out for me. So I don't think you really have do you have a problem with that? No, it's just me.
Just you.
Just me.
Just you and the aura machine. She's talking about an aura machine we have here in Mystical Wares store in Mount Vernon, Washington. It's a whole biofeedback device. You can put your hand on it. Does all kinds of readings, and I'm not going to get too much into it. But then gives you a 15-page printout of your energy. It's like an energy checkup. It tells you your current chakra levels of energy in there, and then some personal information. So that's what we're talking about. It's an interesting device. There's lots of ways of doing that.
So speaking of all these electronic malfunctions, there was a day where the power went out, but it came back on pretty quickly, and it wasn't because of the flood, because we did have that issue just last week. But do you want to talk a little bit about that? We can get into that, and it was very we get frustrated. It's okay to get frustrated, but like when we have so many things like poking at us, and like all this built up frustrations of work being piled on us, or but I mean, we really enjoy our work, so I don't want to give to make that negative, but just a lot of stuff coming at you, a lot of people that we're communicating with, a lot of things, not just physically, obviously, more than just what we're doing in 3D. But yeah, the power went out one day when it was just not a good day for a lot of us, and
I'll step into what she's hesitating. She doesn't know how much Derek was pissed off. Yeah, so that, and it's not just a me thing. We can all do this at different levels. But yeah, if I don't know, say a big energy worker gets around in heightened anxiety, because stuff happens here in the 3D. And I'm not going to get into specifics of things, but sometimes theft happens. It's a physical reality. Stuff leaves you. Circumstances we have to deal with, and other stuff. So yeah, if I get too built up in anxiety and whatnot, I need to get the heck out of the cash register area, or lights, or reset. And again, it's not just a Derek thing. All of us can do this to one degree or another. So we need to catch ourselves, and then what I should have done at that moment, and of course I didn't, and because we're all in this 3D physical reality having experiences, and it's hard to remember some of these other aspects when you find yourself in these high energy circumstances. So I didn't armor is what I'm getting at here. I should have armored. I should have chilled out, got in my head for 2 seconds, said armor, put myself in love, and toned it back down, and then got more hold of my energy. So again, well, maybe I didn't, so that we think about it and I bring it up, or you bring it up on this podcast and we talk about it. So
yeah.
It's all good.
I mean, we all do that. So it's just big energy. When you're aware of all that energy and how big it can be, it does mess with things sometimes. But like then others are aware of the energy, I guess, being shooken up, and it's like, ooh, here's our time to keep poking at it and poke the bear.
Sometimes instinctually we'll do that, and we know that. We just don't get there in our head logically thinking about it. But instincts go, okay, keep doing it, or don't do it. We got to kind of wake up, because this reality is basically a head game. You can term it that way. It's a accumulation of thoughts, and which ones we grab onto and put more focus on, or where we're going to steer the vehicle. So if we can wake up within our thoughts and circumstances, you can maybe take the less bumpy road. I don't always do that. That's for darn sure. In fact, I'm usually the one that goes over the bumpy road and then hits it in reverse and goes back and then guns it, because apparently I want to experience everything. Yeah, and that can be rough.
Yeah, well, I think it's healthy, because I feel like some people are like, oh, you just think it's all love and light, and then you're ignoring the bad stuff. No, it's just being aware of that and deciding that you don't want to sit in that energy and moving on.
Yeah, wake up within it and then make a change. Thoughts, feelings, or physically. Get out of the environment if it's a physical thing. Or get out of your head if it's an energy thing in your thought processes. You can always have an effect. It's just wake up within the circumstance, and if it's a heavy, depressive, anxiety feeling or thought or area you're in, wake up. You have ways to make the change. Remember, even a third thing, because we've been empowering people with containers, understandings, ways of looking at reality that will give you a better understanding. Kind of get your sea legs for this reality, if you know what I'm talking about, off on a boat trying to get your footing.
Yeah, Thromas commented that sometimes we're human. Yes. Yeah, we're allowed to feel those things. And I think that's kind of why we are human. We wanted to experience this level of perception, or as many ways as possible, physically.
And then wake up within it.
Yeah.
Realize limiting factor, and then realize it's not all there is, and that you can play in the etheric sandbox if you're techie or a gamer, and get in your imagination, the other 90%, and have a whole lot more fun and bring it down in here as well. So yeah, just perceive your reality and then choose how you want to experience it.
And Tort commented, also when you're near a person that is also on your frequency level, they get a spark of tiny pulses and tingles. They have a sister or brothers like them. Spot on you too. Shungite water as well keeps me balanced. So.
That's funny. I was just going to get up and grab some more Shungite water.
No, I'm not going
to. And you may see me on a couple video screens. That's going to look awkward, I know. I'm going to fill up our Shungite. Actually, and this wasn't some time for that, Shungite water. You can't see it, but there's little Shungite water beads in the picture.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I guess, yeah, we've had so many issues with, well, the power, when the power went out, that was like that hasn't happened. Like, that was probably the first time. Like usually, yeah, like that, but normally the lights flicker and stuff, so. But I guess, speaking of that last comment about being on the same level or frequency as another person that you're in alignment with, or soul family, or so many different ways of being able to put that. We have a friend here at the store. Her name is Lonnie, And I actually, she was here at our fair a couple weekends ago, and she'll be here again. But Lonnie, she makes candles, so her business is Cree Candles.
Cree Candles, C-R-E-E.
Yes, but I always find it so funny because all the conversations that I've had with Lonnie, we haven't even really spoken too much verbally. It's always like speaking a few words, and then it's like, oh, and then like we don't even have to complete sentences because we're both just like, it's a feeling conversation. I'm like, I don't know how to explain that, but it's so funny because there are no words. It's like, oh, here's another person that feels very deeply. I know that I'm a big feeler as well, empaths, so many ways of describing that as well. But we speak through feeling, so.
Well, it's just like you had mentioned, another person in alignment with you. So you're on the same, holding many of the same frequencies. So you're going to get to the understanding before you even vocally or verbally say anything.
Right.
So you can kind of start and go, oh, I got you. So a whole bunch of head nods usually happen, and I got you in smiles.
It's so funny, though, because I'm like, oh my gosh, we've never actually talked.
That's funny.
A couple of words here and there. But also speaking of that, so I find that I do that a lot, and people think that I'm like maybe censoring. And it's not that it's necessarily being censored. Sometimes, yes, depending on topics and conversation or who we're speaking to. But a lot of the times it's more like intuitively, like I'm blocking myself from being able to speak about something. Maybe it's because it's like avoiding attracting energies. So it's like having to, I always say it's kind of like playing charades, like trying to get the point across without actually saying it or getting too close to what. And you have to be on the same level as that person for them to understand. So.
You do. And then when you communicate on that level, you don't even have to have the terms. Because, of course, here, at least in the English language, we have such a limited vocabulary. How the heck do you even talk about some of this metaphysical stuff? Because there aren't terms or understandings to do it. So we'll stumble a lot. But when you can find like-minded individuals or kindred spirits, sometimes it's called in the metaphysical realms out there, you can communicate on a whole lot faster levels and get a lot more of the understandings through, again, without words. That's Lonnie's great. Oh yeah, she's a very connected individual. Yeah. Isn't she one of our upcoming?
Yeah, she'll be in the next fair as well.
Okay, nice. Yeah, her candles are awesome. Yeah, I was looking at my notes too, so we'll see. Again, this is a loose metaphysical perspectives video cast because we're getting into it, and we're not. I should warn, because I haven't figured it out yet. To be totally honest. The pauses. So I'm not sure that we're even going to have a break in the show at the halfway point, and it is a 2-hour video cast. So we'll figure that out in future episodes, but we're just going to continue through. And
well, also, I guess I did make a note here, speaking the conversations that I would have with Lonnie, and how Walt Silva on past shows, we had him as a guest, but he would always talk about how he would need to be invited or in conversation or asked something before it could come out. So it's like, yes, like even like doing sessions, it's sometimes just, it just flows because the person is there in front of you because they're asking for help or asking for guidance, and it's just able to flow. Where if you find yourself with a person and you have like all this information that you wish you could share, but for some reason you're being stopped, is because they're not asking or they're not wanting to know. So it's like, it's just an intuitive feeling, an intuitive
and you can have that same feeling she's talking about physically. So you may feel, even during sessions in here, and this is our office where I do sessions, you can feel your throat. So we're talking about throat chakra, and sometimes it'll be perceived as you're not speaking your truth, you're not hearing your truth, something like that. If you feel heavy energies or you just can't get words out, it ties into, we chatted a little bit about in the last podcast about muscle testing and whatnot, but about perceiving energies physically as kind of an etheric sign language. It's giving you a hint about stuff. When you feel your throat shut down, well, that's just to wake you up in your head, in your thoughts, go, wait, should I be saying this or not? Just to get another look at it. And maybe you should be, but it gives you that pause, so then you maybe share it a different way or something like that. And what I'm talking about again is that maybe heavy energy around your throat. It may feel like it's like slowing down or something. Again, it's just to get your perception to that area. Oh, wait a minute, am I saying what I should be saying? So it's just a check and balance sort of thing. And we all perceive it differently. And sometimes, if we're not too much in the metaphysical or in anxiety or stressful energies, it's hard to perceive what they term subtle energies. I don't know who they are, but what is often termed subtle energies out there, the slight shivers, tingles, pressures, things like that. I'd suggest you pay attention to that because there's more to it. And it's not that there's a message hidden in the energies per se, but it's like a shiny object trying to get your attention. Say, hey, focus, reanalyze, and maybe you'll pick up on more.
But it will always be different for different situations. So sometimes it could be like you're maybe not ready to speak your truth or something. So it's like that tightening sensation in the throat that he's talking about, that throat chakra. But sometimes it's always good to ask yourself, like in your head or however you need to ask yourself. It doesn't need to be out loud. Like, why is it that you're being stopped? Because sometimes it could be other stuff out there trying to stop you. And it's like, no, you really do need to get that message across. So it's like, just learning to understand yourself and why those things are happening.
Yeah, pay attention. Like I keep calling that etheric sign language. So as you put more thought energy or imagination toward what you're doing or talking about or feeling at the time, you're going to expand your understanding of it. It's like listening to a song or doing an exercise. How many times it's going to get smoother, and the muscle memory will get there, or the memory will get there, and you'll just sing that song. So again, choosing your thoughts. Well, I want to perceive. That's where you start. Decide. Make a decision. I want to perceive more of my reality, but I'd say don't overwhelm me. And then you're listening to this podcast, so you already know about your etheric armor and hygiene. Again, one way of doing it. There are many ways. But if you're aware of that, then it's probably a good idea before you go into a heightened environment, let's call it a rainstorm for an analogy, put on a raincoat so you don't get soaking wet, because you don't want to feel every drop, or if you walk into a get-together with friends, every emotion in there maybe. Choose to be armored, and then you kind of have more of a choice. Any other topics? And
Well, I have a lot of stuff, but there's a lot of comments on here when you filled our cups with water, how everybody's loving the Shungite water beads. So yes.
Yeah, and that is what's in there. Shungite water beads, as she's talking about, the 3 little silver, and I don't have one easily accessible. I don't want to go put my hand in my water pitcher over there. But 3 little Shungite beads tied together, and there's a whole thing to the 3, of course, but tied together or wound together, I don't know, with silver wire, pure silver wire. So it's a soft version of it. It's not plated, it's pure silver. And then now it's an energy device. So it structures the water. It's called living water. You can call it homeopathy. And you can just hold your cup of water. So I keep refilling our water glasses. And I don't have a Shungite bead in here, by the way. It's in I'll give you the hold since we're getting into it. In the back fridge, I have a Brita water filter for some of the 3D stuff that can't be taken out other ways, so I pre-filter. There's Shungite water beads in the bottom of the Brita pitcher, and then I refill our glass water pitcher over here on the desk, which we refill these from. But this glass one does have Shungite beads in it as well. And it's a daily thing when I do sessions in here, people drinking that water. I have to fill that so many times because they're just guzzling, and that's an awesome thing because they're drinking living water. I fill it with love. Shungite keeps the energy moving, so it's a biocompatible water that now when you drink, your body will recognize and you'll absorb it. So there's lots of reasons for that. But yeah, we do drink Shungite. No Kool-Aid in this office, just Shungite water.
Yeah, we have people that come in here and just want to refill their water bottles with our water in here. Yeah, we have water outside too, but they like the water in our office, so of course.
Probably, yeah.
I
mean, and then
it's extra charged.
A little extra charge. It doesn't hurt, and you can't quite see, but behind the wall, they're actually right 2 feet from Jalissa through the wall. Probably 8 tons of Shungite now, several pallets full. So a little bit of an energetically charged environment as well. Not that you need all that. So just the standard Shungite water beads with and again, the silver add-on is a part that takes care, because silver on the physical level takes care of harmful bacteria and viruses and things like that aren't compatible with us physically. So that's what it's doing there. And then energetically, or on the frequency level, which kind of ties into colloidal silver and different uses of silver. And this is a silver ring I'm wearing here as well for a reason. It's to get that frequency in my energy environment, my aura, my energy body. And then with my tied-on understanding of silver, even if it's a made-up understanding, by the way, so that you can expand into that, it's going to have that effect on you on the frequency level. So I choose love.
So Dolly was asking about the Brita. So yes, we have like a water pitcher with a Brita filter in it, and so Derek has the water beads inside the pitcher part,
the base,
the basin, yeah,
down in the base with the reservoir.
Yeah, thank you. And it's so it's 3 Shungite beads wrapped with silver wire, and it looks kind of like I don't have a picture or anything I could show, but it's like a triquetra, or so.
What is that word?
It's like a Celtic.
Oh, you're right.
3,
it is.
But that's what it looks like. If anybody is familiar with that shape.
Yeah, and they can be found, the Shungite water beads we're talking about, on mysticalwares.com online store. Just go to the search box or go to the Shungite category tab, type in water beads, and you'll see them on there. And they last forever. They don't wear out. They don't go anywhere. So they are a lifetime. And again, it's a way of structuring. Again, physicists would call it M-state water or living water or structured water, things like that. Dr. Emoto has talked about it, about being able to overlay or embed frequencies in water. In his case, he showed it using ice cubes and different things, but you don't need to visually see it to know it's there. Just know it's there. So that's one of the ways it makes it very programmable. And then an add-on, when you have the Shungite water and it's been cleared of energies because you had the Shungite water beads in it, it will now, because it's in my energy field, I'm holding it, it will align to me biocompatibly. So that glass of water, when I drink it, my body will identify it as water now, because it hasn't been all mucked with going through mechanical pumps. I'm just using 2 items here to represent molecules that have been kind of scattered, or kind of like a puzzle being shook up in the box, and then your body expected to say, well, that's a puzzle of some kitties and dogs. It doesn't know, because we put it through so many energy environments, molecularly, it's almost unidentifiable. So when you drink normal water, your body absorbs about 10% and you excrete 90%. Turn it into living, loving Shungite water or homeopathy, just say, I love you, because you don't even need to have Shungite. You can just think love toward it. That water will align molecularly for the entity that sent energy toward it. So what I'm saying is, whatever human or person thinks love around that drink, and it doesn't have to be water, it can be a cup of coffee, tea, whatever, that crystalline substance will molecularly align to you as an entity, and your body will see it as water. And now you've reversed the numbers. You're going to absorb about 90% and excrete 10. Now you're not walking around as dehydrated as you were before, by just adding intentions and love to whatever you put in your vehicle. And that can be food too. Food's a percentage of water. Your environment's a percentage of water. So that same recipe can be brought into all these different levels of reality.
I like to kind of describe the feeling, because I'm sure most people have felt it. Before I had learned about Shungite and before I had added it to my water, so there would be times where I'd like drink a bunch of water. I'd be like super thirsty, but then it'd feel like the water was sloshing around in my bladder or my stomach somewhere, just sitting there. And it was like, oh, why do I have this funny, weird sloshing around feeling? And I mean, that was throughout life that I'd have those experiences, so it wasn't anything new. It wasn't something that happened all the time, but once I added Shungite to my water, and once I learned about all its benefits and uses, I was like, oh, I haven't ever had that feeling again since bringing that in. And so it's just my body is absorbing the water.
Yeah, it wasn't seen as a foreign substance. It didn't have to identify it. It go, oh, water, molecularly aligned, so the molecules are structured such that, again, it reads as water or something you need. Process easier. Again, lots of ways of describing this. I'm just kind of keeping it, layman's terms, so it's easy to understand for all of us. There's no need to get too technical on any of this. We're looking through our notes here again. So
there was Thromos commented, Derek, Shungite powder and a salt shaker idea has been really helpful. So I guess.
Yeah, that's I can elaborate on that a little bit, because actually what I'm doing here is grabbing. I have a little baggie of Shungite powder right here, actually, and that's the granular stuff. Shungite powder and a salt shaker. You can do that. We actually have some on the online store blended with a Diatomaceous Earth, and that's for lots of reasons. I don't know that we need to get into all that right now, but the salt shaker part. So think, you don't have to have each little particle of Shungite touching to do a grid, of course. So that's why the salt shaker idea is a good idea. You can walk around your property and or grid etherically, not just your property, wherever, and just shake the shungite out. And then it'll have an etheric energy grid to it, sort of thing. So it's, again, an easier way or more convenient way of spreading the shungite.
Yeah, there's been a lot of different ways that you can incorporate that into your property, because it's like where you live, that should be your safe space, right? But yeah.
No, absolutely. Yeah, and then an add-on for the shungite salt shaker, I guess we'll call it, plants. Do you think that as well? So go out to your trees, your plants. We had some shows earlier on in the year talking about a mullein plant we had outside of Mystical Wares here that just went crazy in size. It was probably 10 times what it should be. And that's a comment coming from the guy who genetically enhanced these type of plants. And it's a therapeutic plant for different, mullein, mullein. I think I'm pronouncing it right for those that are interested. So it's lots of congestion uses. And anyway, we had that plant out there and did the shungite, in this case we added some nuggets to it. And it doesn't matter if it's shungite powder, and this is some granular powder, this is like little black sand in a baggie, or shungite nuggets like this. Either way, put them at the base of the plant and you're going to see just incredible gains in straight up volume and energy levels. We hadn't talked about that before in any shows, but not only will, like in that case, it was a flowering plant used for medicinal purposes. Yep, it got really big, so a whole lot of 3D stuff there to use, and in this case, the leaves and whatnot, but energetically as well, because of that continually clearing. So it's not just an ingredient in your energy recipe, talking about the mullein plant still, it's now a good ingredient, a charged one, a loved one, because you've taken the time to realize frequencies matter. When it was growing, you've added shungite. So that's what I'm saying. That salt shaker of shungite is a good idea to go around your garden or even house plants, give it a little, and it's going to hold that intention that you thought about or intended to put in that area when you do stuff like that. So I'm glad they actually, I'm not going to try and say the name again, but the chatter brought up that topic.
So last show, Nancy was talking a little bit about being called a witch or something, and I'm like, yeah. So I get called that kind of a lot here at the store, so I just go with it. But anyways, so I've even gone out to around my property with shungite powder, but also salt, and mix them and just go around the perimeter and do that, and it makes a difference. It helps. So yeah. Why not?
Yeah, that's a great idea. And you can do it not just salt, you can do, again, different. It's a recipe. Do whatever you have an understanding or you feel personally drawn to, and that can be tar waters, things like that. And you can look that up on a search engine if you're interested in that one. But there's different ways. So different ways of etherically cleansing or setting your etheric boundaries. And that's not meant in a negative way, not like some big, castle wall stopping everything. No, that's choosing to have a layer of love intention in your environment, a frequency. And then like attracts like in this universe, so stay in love, love will come towards you, and the negative tends to go away. Just like if you're in a bad mood or anxiety or stress, guess what piles on? More anxiety, more, you all know that. That's just how it goes. Was there another question in chat or something?
Yeah, but I also want to put out there that I'm not like joking about witches or anything. It's just not something that I was ever used to being called until here. And yeah, so I go get my witch on and do those things. And
I've been called a lot of things. I don't know if I've been called a witch, but I'm a wizard. Yeah.
But so Nancy, I was wondering why she was so quiet. I didn't hear any questions or comments. I guess she lost her power, so she is back on in the chat. But hopefully that gets cleared up and you're able to come back in, Nancy. There is a question from the Tarot Soul. May we hear about the uses for the mix with the Diatomaceous Earth?
Oh, yeah. Great question. I wish I had a little container of it in here. Maybe I'll just start getting up and grabbing these things. But basically we have it in a little, I guess we'll just talk about the blend. It doesn't matter. It's just a little herb jar. So like a little spice jar with little holes in it. So salt shaker, same difference. Basically we take the fine shungite powder, and it doesn't have to be this strong of a blend, but I'm a fan of shungite, of course. So I do about a 50-50 blend. I'll take the shungite powder and then a food grade version of the Diatomaceous Earth. Really obnoxious name there. I'm not going to even try and spell it for you. But what I'm saying is, and they'll call it DE. for short, but Diatomaceous Earth. Again, you can search into that, but it's a fossilized structures, little critters from a long time ago is basically what it is. And because, and again, I'm just kind of going quick over part of it because that's not what the discussion's about. But the diatomaceous earth is usually given, and I emphasize food grade for a reason because it can be consumed, but there are different versions of it. Some of it's used in construction, for grouts, for different things. So this is a more refined, purified version. You can buy, and I'm still talking diatomaceous earth, you can buy it at a co-op or maybe a farm store, whatever they call it in your area, for feeding to livestock. The diatomaceous earth, you can give it to cattle, you can give it to chickens. Basically, if you put it on externally, and I'm still talking about just the blend of diatomaceous earth, so you understand the ingredients, it has sharp edges to it. It's gonna, any parasites or worms, so that also means internally for your animals and whatnot. If you get that diatomaceous earth around those little parasites and things, it kind of tears them a little bit, or worms for animals, cats and dogs. It'll damage the parasite enough to where then they just pass through you. And that's internally as well, even in your organs, or topically on your pets and animals too. So you can shake it on there, and that's what that does from that perspective. And then we blend it with the Shungite for the energy aspect, because it's great to use Shungite nuggets and things like that to literally just move energy on you kind of thing. But with the blended DE, or diatomaceous earth and Shungite powder, you can even sprinkle a little bit of it on your cat food, dog food, things like that. So it's another way of getting it in there. And then I'm going to be kind of vague on what I reference here, because I'll just put it this way. On mysticalwares.com's website, there's a Shungite FAQ page where we've shared dozens of scientific studies, patents, articles written on Shungite and the many uses of it. So you can reference that. And one of the scientific studies, not some little experiment I did in my garage, but they have scientists have fed Shungite powder to rats and tripled their lifespan, basically showing that Shungite has an effect on free radicals, toxins, and in different studies. On the same webpage, you can view all these articles, not me talking about them, but actually download the studies or articles. Has an effect on fluorides, rad particles, which is radiation. So basically that blend of diatomaceous earth and Shungite powder is great topically, internally, for your plants, so you can grid with it as well, and it'll take care of harmful parasites down in the soil. So really, get creative. It's an ingredient, not just for your pets. It's for a lot of things. So I hope that helps them. I don't know if there are any other follow-up questions about it.
Not to the mix, but there was a comment that Michael Rice's biological architecture can give a lot of insight into why Shungite water is so hydrating.
I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, me too. So, Yasmin commented, instead of using a Brita filter, she uses a home water distiller and then puts the Shungite nuggets in it.
Awesome.
Distilled water is very healing and then is supercharged with the Shungite.
A great idea, Yasmin. Not everybody has a still. I do that as well. So I have distilleries, several of them, that do different things with, because you can make essential oils. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. And I've done that as well. So yeah, if you can do that, fantastic idea. And then great starting point from that one. But again, it's a tough thing to do. And if for those that maybe want to expand into that, you can buy a little, and they're going to look like pressure cookers. You can buy them on eBay, probably Amazon now, who knows. But there's websites. You can buy little stills for your home stove, and then you can just distill your own water and get it out of there. An add-on, be aware, because this one caught me. I bought some because I make colloidal silver here as well. Structured Shungite colloidal silver water for, not just topically, you can drink it. You're not going to turn blue. What was I going to, on the water. I bought distilled water to make the colloidal silver with. Just saw distilled water on the tin. Didn't read the fine print. And when I got home, I saw, whatever type of minerals added. So what I found out was that and they did it, as I found out later, because often infants, babies, distilled water is bought for mixing formulas, different things. And their logic was, well, add the minerals back, because otherwise it's going to leach minerals out of you. Well, that's fine, but I'm looking for actual distilled water. So basically I'm saying, really, really look at the label on your distilled water gallon jug if you're going and buying it to do some of these things before you use it, because there can be added minerals to it. But yeah, no, stills are a great idea.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes we can only use what we have, but it is also in a plastic water jug.
Absolutely. And if you can get a glass one, I'd prefer that. And the reason I went kind of OCD on the distilled water with the minerals, because I was, again, referencing my making colloidal silver, where you don't want foreign particles in there because you're using a TDS, a total dissolved solids meter, to test the water to see the particle content of the silver. And that can be disrupted, of course, if you already have stuff floating around in there. So just something to think of.
So Dr. Jennifer Daniels says distilled water is best. I still haven't listened to Dr. Jennifer Daniels, but I've heard a lot about her.
She's awesome. She's great. Oh, yeah. Well, to a degree, and listen to everybody make their own decisions. But if you only drink distilled water and you're not supplementing certain minerals and nutrients, it has been shown, and I'm not committing to anything. Go out there, do your own due diligence research. But sometimes, in some cases, it has been shown that the distilled water drinking will leach out other minerals from, and I don't know the percentages, again, look it up, of your body and organs, so you might want to watch that. Or if you have excess, not a problem, but just something to think about. So I always like to elaborate more on that stuff.
Did you say that you still had the distillers or stills? Or
I do, yeah, I have I would call them a still, and I've done.
I'll have to play around with that.
Yeah. They're a lot of fun. They're really easy to do, too. Again, you can buy them small guys that come pre-made in pressure cookers with some valves and whatnot on there. It's not a big, elaborate setup. It's not difficult. A few YouTube videos, you'll have it down. You'll be your own stiller or distiller in your house if you wanted to.
Is that for the moonshine?
Oh, yeah. We had lots of... we've made Shungite moonshine before. I've done all that stuff. Well, of course, if I'm going to see a show where there's, moonshine? And I'm going to look into it, watch all the shows. Oh, yeah, I went and actually built my own still, I don't know, about 5 feet tall. I've built several of them. Still moonshine, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
That's fine. So, the Shungite that was fed to the rats, was that Shungite or was that lipofullerene C60?
Yeah, it was. So, okay. Good. I'm glad somebody actually said that. So, no, they didn't take a nugget and throw it in the rat food bowl or anything like that. Long story short, it's the C60 molecule, the fullerene, the buckyball. That's the molecular shape that's having an effect. So, however you can get that, and I'm a whole different topic, but I'm not a fan of ingesting oils with blends of C60 molecules to get it in you physically, if that's something you're even looking to do. But that is what they did. They ingested, and I don't have the study up in front of me, so I can't get specific. But no, they didn't sprinkle the powder like I'm talking about with the diatomaceous earth and whatnot. It was a whole different process. And again, that study, I believe that one I made it up to the website. These studies keep disappearing. So for those listening, often I've, over the years, talked about different studies or different things that have been done with Shungite or just the C60 molecule being made in different ways. And there's lots of ways to make it. You can do laser, in a flame, different ways. But those studies move or get hidden. So when people would click on a website I would have and reference back, page missing. So what we've done is taken down or screen captured the shots. I don't care if it's a patent. We've captured those, and they're on our website where you can reference them and get more of the specifics if you're interested.
Fine.
I know, I keep looking at Jalissa.
I'm like, wait.
Next question, where are you at? Not like I'm not involved. I'll look at these notes too. We'll see where we're at. And again, anybody listening, if you're listening live, feel free to go to the YouTube chat screen and or the, I don't want to get too confused in too many terms here, but the Cosmic Reality chat box on Mysticalware's webpage. Either chat window is fine.
Well, I'm really excited that Derek's going to be researching Shungite a little bit more. I know he's already done. Did you do a video actually with the Shungite and glyphosate under the microscope?
I don't know if that's shared anywhere, but I have done that. So
okay, so he's going to do that again so that we can see.
Yeah, Roundup weed killer she's talking about. Glyphosate, Roundup weed killer. We'll get the microscope up here on the desk and broadcast on these video chats and see what it does. And we have a list of other stuff to do because we've done some graphene oxide videos. And that's just another nanoparticulate. For lots of reasons that got our attention. So we're going to put different gold, honey, garlic, other items have been suggested to get near, again, I'm talking about the graphene oxide, near it to see if it has a reaction, and or we're going to go back to Shungite, S4 powers, and different ones on the microscope, and just see what it does, and fling our love energies from our intentions at it as well, and see what we can get to produce or happen on video.
Yeah, that'll be cool. So Nancy is back again. I guess her power went out, or they're working on an electric line up the street. So we're happy to have you back, Nancy.
Hopefully for the rest of the show. We'll see.
Yeah. Did we want to talk about Shadow and Gus? I brought Shadow up a little bit.
Sure. Just jump right in and. Yeah.
So my puppy Shadow. So since our dog passed in January, Clyde, we've been talking about getting a puppy at some point because my kids really missed having a dog, and of course nobody could ever replace Clyde. But so this puppy was already planned for quite some time, but we ended up just getting Shadow a couple months ago now.
Probably a month and a half.
A month and a half ago. So she was planned, but we actually, Olivia, Derek, Maureen, they adopted Gus, and Gus is Shadow's brother. So from a different litter, they have the same dad. But it's just...
I think they share a mom, is that the deal?
Same dad.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, different litters. So just want to talk a little bit about how they came to be ours, because they were obviously meant for us, and like I said, Shadow had been planned, but the funny story about how when we went to get Shadow, the picture was like the dog that we got was not the same pictures that we saw, and it's like right away we knew that it wasn't the same dog. But of course I'm like, I'm not going to say no to this puppy. We came for this puppy and we wanted her, but that realization of like, wait a second, this isn't the same dog was kind of like not a uh-oh moment. Of still, of course, we want this puppy is meant for us, but some stuff happened to her, unfortunately. But
unfortunate stuff that some breeders do to dogs. We're talking, and I don't know the exact term, but docking the tail maybe or something like that, trimming it. And then sometimes they didn't do the ears in this case. Now I'm going to mess up the name of the breed.
Weimaraner.
Okay,
I think I said that right.
You got better than I would have done. So that's the breed, and often they do. It's a German hunting dog. They come in blues and grays. Coloring of it is what we're talking about. But yeah, unfortunately they did.
We were super excited, like when we saw her picture. Because I was like, oh, that is like really cool how this dog that breed is known for having the tail docked, but in the picture it had an intact tail. And I didn't know, because when we got the puppy, she was wrapped up in a blanket because it was cold out. And so I get the puppy, and I'm like holding the puppy. I'm like petting her. I'm like, there's no tail. And I'm like sitting there. I'm like, well, I knew from the picture and upon meeting the puppy that it wasn't the same puppy in the picture. But I was like, oh, the tail is docked. I'm like, oh. I was like, okay, she'll be okay. And, her tail still had like... It wasn't a sore, like open sore, but it was still didn't have all the hair that had grown in yet. But then later on, I think it was like a couple weeks later, I noticed that she had her dew claw, is that what it's called? But her thumbs removed, and I was like, oh, my poor baby. And like, she is very aware that happened to her. And then her brother Gus has his tail intact, and he has his thumbs, and
he's
like,
older.
Yeah. So it's like, poor thing. I was like, ouch. It's like a aesthetic thing that happened to her. So that's, I guess, being aware of that. I don't know. I think me having that awareness like affects her to being even more aware of it because it's her. So it's like, oh, try not to have that feeling. But so many people get to meet her and they love her, but then they're like, oh, look at her cute little tail. And yes, it is a cute, adorable little tail. But then I'm like, oh, people might think that I did that to her. And I'm like, no. That wasn't me. I wouldn't have decided to have done that to her, but,
No, this is more about a case of getting the right puppy in the right family's hands. So, meaning Jalissa is so well equipped emotionally and physically because she has a special needs kitty named Laguna, a very sweetheart little kitty. That's neurological issues, is blind, is deaf, has some issues, loving little entity. And this is the right individual for having that. So same thing here. A very special little puppy now has a very special extended family and the right person for the right job. So even though it wasn't the puppy that was in the pictures, it was, again, the right combination, or, again, now new puppy mommy for the right dog. So it all worked out is the bigger point here.
Oh yeah, and both of them were totally meant for us. Like Shadow is meant for me, like he was saying, part of our family where we are, like even my children are very much aware. Like I hadn't said anything, and my son was like, one day, what happened to Shadow's tail? Why doesn't she have a tail? And so I was like, having to have that conversation about why that happens. And he was like, what? Why do people do that? And I'm like, well, it's kind of I know that it was also used for, so like hunting dogs, apparently it could be a problem, or herding. I think it was like herding cows, that there were dogs that were like being grabbed by their tail and thrown, and their spine would get snapped. So I guess it, could have been a safety issue, but like she was not intended for that purpose, So.
Yeah, no. She found her new forever home, and that's and again, the right, even personality. So we're not just talking about the physical, the tail being docked or the dew claws being taken off kind of thing. And I'm pretty sure that I think they're called dew claws, but I think they were for climbing like trees. In essence, equivalent of our thumbs kind of thing. And no, Gus is our dog. Were not removed either sort of deal, and that's kind of unusual when they're doing that to the other dogs. It makes you wonder why, but
I think it's purely aesthetic, just for looks.
Yeah, we're not a fan of that kind of stuff.
But yes, they will be big dogs. They're growing so fast, and they're like little horses. Like how they trot. And, they really do trot, and their hooves are her hooves. Their paws are huge.
Well, they seem like they're hooves because they look like little mini horses running around. Their paws like that big compared to their body relative, and the ears are big. So, awesome looking. Yeah, little puppies.
Yeah, but they're meant for us, and they're both so loved, and they're getting to socialize here at Mystical Wear. So if you come visit the store, you might get to meet them, and we're hoping to eventually maybe have them in sessions with us to be like a comfort animal.
Yep. Because again, little entities and animal bodies pull in certain frequencies, usually all love. Again, synchronicities line up. The right entities brought into the right environment here with each of our families. So now we have extended families, and it's awesome. It's neat to see them kind of grow up in this environment too, just like we did with some of our household cats, family cats. Grow up around the high energy, because outside our office here we have some large copper pyramids that are available for people to use for free. And that's animals too, by the way, and they'll go in there and hang out under the pyramids. So it's kind of interesting.
So Yasmin said that's funny that my puppy's name is Shadow, and that's her cat's name too. And there goes the cosmic web intertwining again. And what I also love now that we decided on the name Shadow, because of course, talking to my kids and throwing out a bunch of names, like what do they like? And Shadow was the one that won. But now I'm sitting here finding myself saying, I love my shadow. Like, how many ways can that be interpreted?
That's awesome. Yeah. And it gets you saying that too, just by thinking about it. So, and because you're aware, it can mean both understandings, yourself and or her as an entity. It ties to both.
And she really is like my shadow. Like, we got to be careful when she's walking next to us because she trips us up.
Same with Gus, his big old goofy, I was going to say hooves too. Yeah, his big old paws getting under your feet. And I'm like, oh, yeah. So.
Yeah, they're great dogs. They're very smart. Oh my gosh, they are so smart.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, big time.
I know, I can't throw up any pictures right now. I was hoping to have that planned, but...
I don't want to mess with my setup because
I'm
broadcasting from this computer, so I don't want to lose the show. I'm looking at my phone and glassing.
Oh, Yasmin says that. She says that too. I love my shadow.
Yeah, that's. We talked about that. And again, anybody who wants us to expand? Again, this is just a comfortable chat today. No set topic. Clearly, no guests right now other than ourselves. So if there's anything you want us to elaborate into or talk about, we can. I'm just looking over my notes.
There is another comment from Thromas. Thromas. I'm gonna get this right. Thromas. In a nutshell, in regard to Michael Rice's biological architecture, pentagonal structures implode, charge, and hexagonal structures isolate, charge. Here, I'll repeat that again. Okay. Pentagonal structures implode, charge, and hexagonal structures isolate, charge.
Okay. I could...
Yeah.
Not that anybody's asking, but I completely agree. That makes complete sense. I look at it energetically, we'll say, and I'm going to get all that's over here off screen. Duh, that makes sense. There's a whole, movement of energy.
In feng shui, this applies to life force in water. It relates to the permeability of the water molecule.
Okay. And complete tie-in to the whole buckyball deal on how the energies are moving and when you actually can perceive them on the metaphysical level. And I'm not going to be able to describe it, of course. It's a whole visual thing. That ties completely in. That makes complete sense. And it's not a random thing. The Pentagon is the pentagon shape here in the United States. That's not, again, random. There's nothing random. It's all for a reason. They understand energies. I'll just say they. So that's not lost on them. And then tying it into the bees as well, it's not random. So it's going to be maybe hard to see a video, but I'm pointing at one of the hexagon shapes, the 6-sided, where the pentagon, or the 5-sided, of course, that bees chose to make their honeycomb the hexagon shape, the 6-sided shape. Holds energy very well, and it's not, again, random. And it's not every random honey cell in honeycomb that's that shape. They're all that way. And I'll tell you, the bees, and there's been whole studies done on this, the bees don't have little trowels and different tools in there shaping it with their little paws, feelers, hooves, I don't know, whatever bees have. I'm not sure the term. To form that shape, it's an energy thing. In a fraction of a second, when they get enough wax in the shape, and their bees are using their intention of what they want to do, that little honey cell pops into that perfect hexagon shape at that time. So that's what they're doing. Again, they're not in there leveling off the edges, and nobody's talking about that either, but think of it. But no, it just happens. So they'll get it close to it, and then boom, it'll pop into the energy form, which works very well. You bees know a little bit about energy.
This is great. So Thromas says, physicists say the universe is dodecahedral, so the fullerene is a universal fractal.
That makes sense. It's the shape of the universe. It's a tool. There's others, of course, but yeah, that's one of them within that. So that's why it's such a good idea to tie the shape in to your imagination. The 90%. Again, I didn't do the reading in this one, my spiel of armor and hygiene. But anyway, I got into that saying the right container for the right job. So if you're trying to have an effect, affecting energies on a crystalline environment or being, a human body or earth in this reality, made of crystals, made of water to one degree or another, right container for the right job. Imagine this, what you want inside already done. That was a quick spiel of it. But that's what you're going to get. You're going to align those energies for such. And then you're going to manifest a whole lot quicker.
I'm going to have to do my tongue twisters before coming on here to try to read this and make sure I'm saying it right. Pronunciation. I can't even say that. So he says, Dan Winter is not an advocate of ingesting C60, but he also says that it requires electrical equipment running on 50 hertz to properly implode C60 to get a buckyball, so it can't be done in American 60 hertz. And that may be why the isolate C60 gives you the heebies.
That's interesting. He said a whole lot in that statement. The energy sources being used during the process of making the C60 molecules in this 3D reality are basically what it's saying. He's saying a whole lot more on that. But fantastic point. Awesome. I'm glad he mentioned it. I tend to agree with it. Lots of ways of looking at it. And that's why more natural ones. And long story short, and I've talked to the NASA scientists. We've had chats on the phone, and I'm not going to drop any names here. But long story short, they're shooting a laser at items, catching the soot, the black stuff that comes up. And yes, tying into that I guess it was probably a comment or statement. Yeah, the 60 hertz frequency powering that device, of course it has an effect. It's like being in a kitchen. I'll go really vague here. Making some chocolate milk and being in a bad mood while you're stirring the milk. Milk, crystalline substance, programmable. The milk coming from that in that kitchen isn't going to be as good or in alignment. And that looked really weird with my hand going into your camera. I'm trying to avoid that. Sorry, everyone. We're not too far away. But yeah, that makes sense. So all parts and pieces and entities involved in making we'll just call it a recipe, the C60 molecule, matter. It all matters. Everything matters because it's all parts and pieces of it. So yeah, I'd say the C60 stuff. And I'm not telling anybody to walk around and grab a piece of Shungite and just start gnawing on it either. No. Ultimately, don't ingest anything. Use your intention. Use your imagination, your feelings, things like that. Structure the stuff, and I don't care if it's a vegan salad in front of you or a big old steak. Love it, appreciate it, and yep, even the steak, and this has all been shown scientifically, will molecularly align to you. You'll get the nutrients out of the steak or the vegan salad or whatever that you're eating or drinking, whatever you're drinking, that's in alignment with you, that you need. So it all matters. That makes sense. Were there any other?
No, but I do want to say that what is being thrown out right now is not necessarily part of my regular vocabulary. But I completely understand what's being said. So it's like even if somebody else is listening and hears these shapes and the hertz and all that, the sciencey part, you don't necessarily need to really, you don't really need to know it to understand it, if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense.
It's going to still be filtered somewhere in your, or filed away in your brain to come back to later, and it'll be like, oh, makes sense.
Yep, you get the gist of it, the overall understanding. It's, it's like, when you're eating a 7-layered sandwich or whatever that might be, you're not going to taste everything all at once in there kind of thing. It's levels. You'll expand into the other aspects of it. Same thing down here. So, start easy. Just have the intention.
And he also says, Thromos, well, the reason being the 50 hertz is on the Schumann resonance frequency. So it allows perfect implosion, whereas the 60 hertz is toxic frequency to biology.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, great statements. It's throwing you off kilter, trying to keep you to all types of some offshore analogy, because I'm an old deep sea diver guy, so a lot of times offshore in a boat, it's like moving the boat from under you. Good luck on catching your legs. You're spending a lot of your energy and focus adjusting for that glitch in the matrix, and then switching into the different hertz to compensate that you're taking a lot of your energy and or thought or physical energy. So yeah, it's something to be aware of, and then choose to not let it affect you. You can do that as well once you expand into that understanding. There's lots of stuff out there that are kind of meant to throw us off, but then I would suggest you can expand into the understanding to see it as an option for expanding your understanding and learning how to make it not affect you. To realize, well, yeah, they're unstructuring the water, putting it through mechanical pumps and 45-degree turns and pipes and energy being hit it from being pumped out, blah, 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 lots of stuff. Well, you're an aware individual. Know that you can simply hold it and in no time restructure it for you as an entity, and you can fix it. So really, I'd suggest that some of this stuff out there being done isn't a bad thing. It helps us expand into a better or more us, more what you already are. Gives you those opportunities to expand.
So I wasn't sure how much we wanted to talk about this, but I kind of want to bring it out there anyways. So we all got sick. Don't know if necessarily the bug, but probably. So the loss of taste and smell.
Oh, yeah, we can talk about that. Of course, she's being vague with certain terms because of the reality we find ourselves in. We want to make sure these understandings or thoughts or discussions get to, is where they need to be. So we're trying not to limit ourselves, but whatever, stuff happens, it happens. What we're talking about is, sometimes when you get certain sicknesses or things, and the days we find ourselves in, what's been put out there is it does, and we've seen it ourselves, has affected some of our, and not just physical senses, but that's what we're going to talk about now, our smell and taste. So it took them away. Long story short, so many people in our reality nowadays during our current pandemic are losing some of their physical senses. And I'll tie it in before we come back to that, Jalissa, it also affects your chakras. So a lot of females are having lower chakra issues, and then that manifests physically in different ailments. And I'm just being vague unless we get into more. But yeah, it has an effect on all those things, and sometimes they're coming back, sometimes they're not, they're different. So. Well,
I'm, I guess, hypersensitive, but especially with sense of smell, and so smell and taste are kind of interchangeable. For everyone, or for
most? They're both. No,
yeah.
They're both. You have smell buds, taste buds, and both your nasal and mouth.
I didn't necessarily lose it completely, but it was changed, and it was very annoying because I'm like, I think it was especially heightened when I became a mom. That was like, I don't know, just...
Makes sense.
Yeah, so when I became a mom, I was just like, oh, I could pick up on things, and it wasn't just because the sense of smell, it was a feeling also through smell, if you can, Yeah, they're so interchangeable and hard to describe and explain, but so I could still smell things, but then a lot of things were, I could pick up, everything was like, had a hint of sweetness to it, like everything, and so I don't know how to explain. I think somebody else had the opposite, where they're picking up smell, but everything had like a rotten smell. Mm-hmm. Can you say that? So, yeah. So unfortunately for them, I guess I was lucky to have it.
It could have gone the other way.
Yeah. So, but yeah, even my taste. So it was throwing me off on other levels, not being able to pick up on things. So it was driving me crazy. But I decided, I'm like, no, my sense of smell is like one of my strengths. And so I'm like, no, I'm not going to lose that. It's not going to be messed with. It's coming back. And it did very quickly. And it actually never went away. It was just like messed with, and it really annoyed me and pissed me off, really. I'm like, no, give it back.
And she's talking about physical senses, of course, so the actual smell and taste buds in your different areas. But etherically, energetically, again, pandemic days, dramas, and there's always stuff out there. It doesn't just affect the one you're picking up on. Usually it affects you different ways. So a good example is if you're upset, it just doesn't affect your emotions, it affects you physically as well. Sometimes we can get tummy aches, tension, we get tired. Everything is connected. So even your chakras, metaphysical senses, because of course your 5 senses are physical senses, you have etheric senses that we like to call chakras, and there's more than the 7 that's talked about. There's lots of them. And as you expand into those chakras or senses, they can be affected. So even though Jalissa was talking about her sense of smell and or taste, because they are pretty linked between smell and taste buds, it can affect other chakras too. So when you're sick or off kilter, or emotionally, we'll just say off, well, that can affect your levels of perception, your intuition, your gut instincts, your feelings, those things. So always just be aware of yourself. Realize if you're, let's say, vehicle, your body, your windshield's all dirty. Well, you gotta, clean it off sometimes, and that can be your etheric hygienes, call it different things. I like to tie it in different ways. But when you realize one of your senses, and like Jalissa was talking about sense of smell, it's usually not just one. Everything's connected. So, and that doesn't mean go into a state of fear. That means, maybe things are a little bit off. Open up to perception and then just see. So
yeah, I was trying to be positive and open up to being, I'm having to relearn how to perceive through sense of smell. So, but it was, like he was saying, it wasn't just the sense of smell or the sense of taste. It was also became like a depth perception. So not just visually, but it's like how far can you smell?
Sure.
That's funny to describe, but yeah, it's and how much we use that in everyday life with different things that we don't even realize that we're doing. It's just automatically there, and having to change that.
I'd like to, if you don't mind, elaborate on what you were just saying. When you're smelling things, you're picking up on frequencies as well, energies. And here's an example. So some of you know I'm an ex-commercial deep-sea diver. So I used to dive off oil rigs out in the Gulf of Mexico, go underwater welding, drive little remote vehicles, robots, all kinds of crazy stuff. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because even if I had my helmet on, I'm not going to grab it, but there's one over there, and you're breathing oxygen from what's called an umbilical, supplying you with hot water, air, radio, all kinds of stuff. Well, I would smell stuff. I don't care if I'm 400 feet, so I used to be a heliox diver as well, where you go really deep, let's just say. Well, I could smell the stuff underwater. If I was dredging, let's say, unburying a pipeline or again, welding or whatever, I could smell in that enclosed environment physical sensations. It was a frequency, and it from a distance. So if we had, let's say, an oil pipeline, and I've been through those type of things, broke in a certain area, we'd go toward it, you could smell underwater. You're smelling in the frequencies. You're perceiving your senses through other senses. So don't limit yourself to smell through your nose. There's an etheric scent out there, and you can smell remotely. And I don't know if you want to get into that, but I used to give stories where the whole, I used to live out in the mountains of what's called Darrington, just out in the boonies. And then I would see, unfortunately, people swerving in the road out there, and I'm just kind of staying out in the booty, so you see there's not like 1,000 cars around me. There'd be a handful, and then I'd see one swerving, so I'd kind of tone down, slow down, turn on my, you can call it different things, but remote viewing, remote sensing is a better way. Perceiving would be even better. So I choose to experience what was in that. Let's just say it was a pickup truck. All of a sudden I would smell Jack Daniels or Budweiser or whatever. Well, then I knew, and I'm talking about etherically, so it wasn't a scent wafting out his window or whoever was in the car or truck coming back and hitting me. I sat down, relaxed. I want to smell. And then all of a sudden, and maybe you'll do it and you'll smell an old cigar from maybe grandpa that passed on or something like that, or flowers of someone's perfume, or blah, blah, blah. A lot of ways of doing it, but that's what you can do. And when you choose to intellectually, just logically in your head, I didn't strike a certain pose. Again, I keep making fun of these things, or sit there and meditate for an hour. I chose as a conscious being to perceive what was in there, and all of a sudden it was. Granted, we can all do this on one degree or another, different levels. So don't like kick yourself if all of a sudden, ooh, I want to smell in that blue Bronco up there, and you don't smell. Nah, come on, it's a learning thing. It's expand into it, so yeah.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Yeah, yeah you might not want to do that, actually, for a lot of reasons. Yeah, but, I want to get the examples out of how you can do it.
But on our last podcast, when we had Lola on the show, I brought up, I'm sure not all of our listeners heard that one, but so she, somehow conversation came up about whiskey. And I was like, when she was talking about it, I was like, oh, I could smell it. And then I was like, oh, I could taste it. And I walk away and I'm like, oh, there's the heartburn. I'm like, I don't want to have that experience. But it was just like, maybe it was just a reminder for me that how easy that can be.
Yeah, the whiskey, even on 3D, if you drink it, affects you energetically. You can skip the physical aspect, jump right to the 90, which is what you did. I wouldn't do it in that. I wouldn't suggest doing that. Yeah, but you can. So something to think about. Oh, yeah. That's how, you can be around... drunk people or inebriated people, you're gonna get buzz. You're gonna get an etheric buzz from it, depending on your level of perception. How heightened are you? Did you have the understanding to armor yourself first? Okay, good idea. Go out there armored in love, knowing that, nope, I don't want any of this 3D alcohol to mess with me. Now you can go hang out with your friends if they do choose to drink without, because you consciously tuned your channel. That's one way to do it.
Yeah, people I don't think aren't as aware of like how it can still affect them energetically, even if they're the sober driver or, in those situations, because it is like you go to a concert and you can feel the energy. It's like you guys are feeding off of each other's energy, literally. You do a race and you're running and it's like, oh, you do a better time, you PR record time because of everybody's energy. It's not just you in that group environment or situation, because it's all...
Yeah, you can feed off or benefit from environmental energies. So it's not in that running analogy. That was a good one. Your physical 3D muscle didn't just automatically process enough sugars to generate more energy. No, you pulled it in etherically and processed it physically. And you can do that inverse as well, by the way. So that's why it's important to keep your physical body as healthy as can be. And I know, good luck nowadays eating organic, non-GMO, and keeping the bad stuff out. Have fun trying to do that. It's a percentage thing, so I'm just making fun of it to know you don't have to go OCD, vegan, vegetarian, or just organic food. You can cheat and have fun, but love it, because we've already talked about it. Take the time. So if you have that Big Mac attack and that's all that's in front of you, you got to eat that Big Mac, well then love it and appreciate it, so that if there are any nutrients in there, at least you can glean those out, kind of thing. And then you keep the non-biocompatible parts out of you by having that choice.
But it does make a difference, like having a clean vehicle or a vessel, because it's like just to think about all the different products that we use. So just our shampoos, hairsprays, lotions, conditioners, all that stuff, laundry detergent. This is stuff that we are wearing all day, every day, or sleeping in on the sheets of our bed. So it makes a difference. But like you said, try not to go too OCD, because there's stuff, contaminants everywhere.
Yeah, but be aware. So don't lose your mind over it. Well, and as I'm going to go a little more extreme now. So even that, if you're touching a door handle, doorknob, somebody else touched that before you, there's a Passover. So, you can go as OCD as you want and stay clean. Don't touch anything chemical, which is a good idea, but, good luck. Well, but stuff happens in this 3D environment, as you know. Go outside, you're going to breathe in a toxin. You're going to breathe in a heavy metal. You're not going to avoid it unless you walk around in hazmat suits. So choose to etherically Go through your environment in a love frequency or intention, and it'll take the edge off. And then, the more you expand into that, you'll have more of an effect. So you can always do something. You can always have an effect. There's no such thing as too late. And I don't care if we're talking about some vaccine in your arm or some situation that happened in that air quotes here past. There is no time. So you can have an effect on those situations that maybe didn't go right. You can take the edge off them still if you wanted to, or affect something you ate. So if you had that Big Mac attack and you're regretting it an hour later, which tends to happen, calm down. Imagine yourself in a container of love. Imagine yourself without probably a stomach ache from eating that thing. So, and then that's how you'll structure the energies in your aura so your physical body matches. So you can heal yourself faster, even after the fact, is what I'm saying.
So, Thromos, I am so happy that you are on chat with us because I think you said this is your first time joining chat. So you've had lots of great comments, but he did comment contact high. So yes, contact high is real, can happen, but contact high as mirror neurons. So he said that his friend was watching him work out the other day and said that he could feel himself losing weight and raising his own testosterone just by watching.
Yeah.
Maybe next time he'll join in, but yes, it's
great comments and lots of topics. Remember the mirror neurons. There's a whole lot to that. There's a whole lot of stuff going on in your real heart, your energy heart. There's a whole other brain down there, and they call it heart-brain coherence. There's a lot to that too, but it's legit. You don't have to. Well, you can taste something if somebody else is eating it or tasting it next to you. You'll taste it as well, and I'm not talking about just smelling it, because of course there's taste buds in your nose and smell buds in your mouth, and both vice versa. And actually, I think it's been put out, you can actually taste, more clearly, if that makes sense, better with your nose and smell with your mouth than the opposite. So don't go trying to eat with your nose, though. It's not going to work out well, but it's just kind of an interesting fact to talk about.
I was dared to do that when I was little.
Oh,
I think I drank soup through my
I
nose.
don't want to too much. No.
Thanks, brother.
TMI. I don't want to visualize that.
So going back to the clairsentience, thermosynthesia, I probably didn't say that right, but Yasmin says in certain magical traditions, smell is key to bringing in certain energies. So I find this loss of smell thing happening to folks interesting on the metaphysical level. I agree.
Yep, I agree too. And then I'm going to, of course, default on the positive aspect of it. Well, then take advantage of that and push more into your other metaphysical sense. And I know we're talking physical, but we'll interchange. Push into your other senses, heighten them. It's like somebody that goes deaf. Well, then their vision gets strengthened. And if you lose your vision, your hearing gets heightened. And so do your energy sensitivities in the environment. You'll feel those subtle energies more. So no, you'll compensate. You always do. That's why we're down here.
Oh, yeah. So my cat Laguna, she is deaf and blind. She knows when we get home. Like, she just senses that we're here.
That's right.
So we're there, and she comes out of her house, and she's ready to come out. Yeah. So
it's like if you have a cat or dog or a kid, we're going to... intuition's going to trigger, mommy's almost home soon, or the animals will run over the door. Like in our case, we have 3 dogs and countless cats, really 4. Seems like countless. I'll be sitting at the front door. Well, I'll know that within the next couple of minutes that, somebody's going to be coming home that they're waiting on. So, and all our animals do this. We just have to pay attention to it. So do we.
So another great comment. The pineal gland has been shown to be able to perceive light frequencies and olfactory scent, and now known to be infrared light.
Yep, that's right. So it's responsive. Your pineal gland is 3 little crystals and a little gland on the top of your brainstem, kind of in the middle of your head. It's your third eye, some cultures maybe call it. So, it's responsive to not just those levels of energy, but other ones as well. That's why it might not be a bad idea to what's sometimes called decalcification of your pineal gland or third eye. There's lots of ways of doing it. Zeolite clays are not a bad idea. And I'm saying zeolites, Zeolite. It's a clay that passes the blood-brain barrier, gets in your glands, pulls toxins, heavy metals out. Basically a heavy metal detox. And I know I'm going fast. There's different ways. There's even liquids that a friend sent me some I checked out here recently. Different ways of doing it. Or use your intentions and imagination And I like to give the visualization of a hazy bathroom mirror after a hot shower as your third eye. Imagine wiping it off, and now you're perceiving more. But long story short, yeah, if you decalcify your pineal gland, that's one of the aspects to the metaphysical. So it's not a bad idea. And I forget why we even get on that, because I can't read the chat.
Oh, it was because we lost our sense of taste and smell.
Oh, okay.
Or I don't even like to say that, because I don't think I ever actually lost it. It was messed with.
More energies were pushed towards other senses and taken from that one, so you're not perceiving it as much. But It's not gone.
No, well, some people think that it's completely gone, but then it's like throwing other stuff off.
Who knows, physiologically, maybe there's something else out there that's having an effect on the actual receptors or something. I don't know. I'm not a medical doctor. I don't know about that one energetically, but yeah, it definitely has an effect.
Okay. Are we going to practice my vocabulary, Thromos? Synthesis. I can't say it. Oh my gosh. The mingling of sensual perceptions, clairsentience, like clairvoyance. The pineal gland can perceive all 5 senses at a distance.
Synthesis? Oh, I'm not going to try it.
Oh, man. I got to practice.
I think.
Thank you for trying to help me out. I butchered it, though, again. I'm sorry.
We do appreciate all the input and chat and questions, because clearly we need some help keeping it going sometimes.
I'll practice. Yeah. I promise. I'll get this right.
I give up on that one, too.
Yeah, I got to stop looking at it, because I'm going to keep trying.
Were there other questions that came up in the chat? And I wonder if Nancy's still with us. Hopefully she is and didn't have any more power issues.
I haven't seen a comment for a little bit, so.
Okay. Yeah, she might be having some power issues there. Yeah, we went through the light flickering stuff. And typically on these shows, everyone listening, we're gonna have special guests on. We have several lined up already, and we're gonna continue adding to the calendar and more topics. Don't be shy. You can email contact@mysticalwares.com if you have show suggestions, guest suggestions, things you want us to talk about. We can do some woohoo stuff during the shows and perceive other things. I'll just be really vague and say things during some of these shows if you're interested. But we're still working on that ourselves. We talked about the fair coming up this weekend. Any other...
I'm like, I don't know. I just got to get this word down, because that's going to drive me nuts. Because it's me.
Sinister. And I don't have it on my screen, so I can't even see it right now.
I don't know.
I'm not going to try.
All 5, like clairsentience, like clairvoyance, the pineal gland can perceive all 5 senses at a distance. Yes.
There is no distance, but yeah, I know for
synesthesia.
Synesthesia?
Yes.
I don't know if I've ever used the word. It sounds familiar. I don't know. Because there is no distance, there is no time. You're not limited to time. You're not limited to distance. A physicist, of course, call it quantum entanglement. But they're also saying for quantum entanglement, you need to be in the energy of it before you're quantumly entangled. No. We all started as okay, let's go with the Big Bang Theory. I'm not saying that's accurate, but we're all connected. I'll start with that. So you're already connected. Just a suggestion. I don't go at this reality with the understanding that until I get next to someone or something, I'm not quantum entangled. We are that's the physical 10%. The 90% you can do etherically. So yes, you can imagine, this is Shungite chunk, imagine it, you've got your quantum entanglement, or if you go for the metaphysical aspect, we're all one, we're all connected. We are. So however you describe it, it's already so. Come at it from that understanding, and now you're not limited. So you don't have to do scientists do a whole splitting of photon particles, shaking them in one area. I'm being really vague and not funny, to see how they respond in other areas. But we're all connected. You already are. And there's lots of studies and science behind all of that.
Okay, so I'm going to blame this on you.
Okay, I'll take it.
So synesthesia, it's because you call it clair smelly.
Oh, I didn't know the terms. I call it, clair smelly. My clair smelly turned on. Okay.
Okay. He also said ESP, telekinesis, works through the pineal gland through the propagation of longitudinal waves as opposed to sine waves.
Yeah, they're just talking about the way the freak. So if you get it was called. So I'm also a non-destructive tester. It's called in that whole diving thing. Long story short, an oscilloscope. You can see square waves, sine waves, how do you describe that one? The way the energy is coming through, it can have an edge to it, and I'm going to be really lax with my terms here. So, any scientists out there, don't quote me on any of this. It'd be an edge to it, or you can soften the edge. It's kind of what Shungite does. So if you have a cell phone, and I have a Shungite S4 sticker on the back of mine here, it's not stopping the call. It's not a Faraday cage blocking the frequency. It's taking the edge off. So it's kind of softens the frequency. If you want to visualize it, it's kind of like a wave sort of thing. That's a tough one to even talk about. There's something else I was going to say, but I don't remember right now. That happens. Yeah.
No, I think we've actually done pretty good for this being our first time doing this and
getting comfortable with the video.
Yeah.
And of course, hopefully the whole, again, looking, because we're in the same room together, it's hard not to, but hopefully it makes sense. And again, and just to get in more of the podcast stuff, we're not always going to have these same images down below us with the big owl there. We're going to replace that with another video screen where maybe we have a special guest over there on the couch or another room or location. And, or like I said, the microscope will broadcast up there on some shows. Different stuff is what we're going to do. So again, we're just kind of, trying it out.
Thromos again. Like how blind children are being taught to perceive colors through the top of their skull.
You can feel colors. That's some stores I can't get into too much. There is so much stuff out there where they're doing these things. I've been in front, again, I'm going to leave certain names out because I don't want to attach to certain groups here or give energy toward it. But there's certain individuals out there that, and I've been personally in their presence doing it, and I'm not, and we can all do it, by the way, literally every one of us. You can be blindfolded, masked, put in an environment. In this case, it was a whole like a movie theater type setting. So staircases going up, people peppered throughout. It was a display sort of deal. And then these people would walk through and blindfolded, but yet still perceive the physical reality from everything but their eyes, their visual sense, and still walk through. And when they come up on somebody, let's say somebody's feet were blocking their path, they'd walk around it. I'm talking about they didn't smell their feet sitting there. They saw it energetically with their third eye or pineal gland. So for me, I'm a perceiver is the term I like. I can look off to the side of the screen here, really at anything, and I get a whole overlay of not just visual energy, what they call downloads, understandings. All of that is there, and then I just start kind of choosing what aspects to focus my energy on or attention. So then, yes, you can walk around blindfolded and see it energetically. And then for me, it's, again, I don't get too much into that. There's colors. There's wavy lines, kind of like looking down a hot road in the desert at the heat, fluctuations. There's a whole term for that. I'm kind of blanking on that right now. But that whole thing happens, and then you can see it around energy centers and organs. So if I do the medical intuitive thing here in the office, I can perceive the inside of you. And if I see, let's say, your kidney, odd fluctuations in energy, well, it's going to draw my attention. And then we'll look at that. So lots of ways to draw your attention or focus. And then there's always more to it as well.
Yeah, so he says that they do those exercises in martial arts. And so it's like, I'm not going to say the name right, but even just making a ball in your hand.
Chi ball or something like that? Or is that what it's called?
No.
No?
I would say that.
Okay. I better be quiet.
I
know what you're saying, though. Yeah.
Anyways,
okay.
But yeah, just playing around with the ball of energy and imagining that being there, and then you can actually feel it. And it's like, well, yeah, you feel that energy, but it's like you can imagine that you're feeling the ball, but it's also your hands, the energy that you're feeling from yourself, and just
while it's in your hand. So an add-on, now that we all, and you already have the expanded understanding that containers matter, you can do that energy ball in your hand, take a moment, and I've done this, imagine that container of love around it, throw it at a person. Just love. We're just talking about love energy. And it can be somebody with their back to you, so they don't know you're doing this crazy metaphysical ball throw, and all of a sudden they're going to turn around and go, what the heck was that, kind of thing? Have fun with it. And I'm only talking about containers filled with love energy. So in essence, you're just throwing soccer balls of love everywhere, but you're really going to respond to that, and others will as well. Do it the cat or dog. They're not sitting there understanding what you're doing on the 3D level. So have fun with it, because they're going to sure feel they're in that energy level. That's for sure. Play in the energy levels. So that's one way you can do it. I've done it. I've told you stories before. Maybe my daughter Olivia has, going into pet stores with whole bird cages and big ones that maybe had 100 parakeets in it. I would walk in and they were just going crazy, just a lot of chirping. I was getting overwhelmed on the physical level. So I thought, oh, well, wait a minute. Let's use our container of love. I imagined the soccer ball shape of love around the entire bird, we'll just call it bird house, but it was really big, probably 6 foot tall by 6 foot, hundreds of birds. Okay, maybe 50, who knows? Lots of birds, a lot of noise. The second I did that, and my daughter Olivia and wife saw me doing it, and they saw me, and I'm boop, instantaneously, every single bird, not 90% of them, 100%, instantly quieted down to where the employees in the store and other customers turned around kind of thing. And I'm like, oh, and then I caught myself standing there. It was all in my head. It was imagination stuff, energy stuff, so all real. But the ones physically, they didn't quite know what was going on. So then I kind of, scurried out of there. I didn't want any attention. But even moments like that are just real dramatic in our life. And we can all do it again. Just expand into the understanding, containers, love, frequency, energy. Focus on, in this case, birds or your cat at home if there's an issue. And they're going to feel that energy. So that's just one example I occasionally give where you can just sit out there in 3D reality.
Thromos says they also use gemstones to teach perceptions of flavors, air quotes. And I love that because that's just, it really is, at least for me, it's all those different levels of perception and the senses and how they all intermingle and creating a picture out of it, per se, or something. Yeah.
Well, it's like biting into a sandwich. You taste everything. You don't just taste the bread. You taste it all. All your senses overlap and overlay. And you, when you realize it as an entity, get to choose. You have a control on these chakras. Think of them as dials on your radio, your physical body. Turn up the treble, turn up the bass, or down the bass. Turn down the energies. If you don't want to go in an environment to feel the emotional energy in there, consciously decide that. Soccer ball of love. I only want my own energy around my heart. Go through and experience that now. Now when you're having a chat with a friend or something and they're going through emotional turmoil, you don't have to sit in that energies. You can stay a little bit removed. And so then you can maybe be that person out of that energy that shows them the way out, gives them that handhold. So lots of ways of using these understandings.
So do we want to talk a little bit about stuff coming up? I know we talked about it last show. We might have different listeners. So.
Sure. No, go to work. We got probably about 10 minutes left, so we can get into some of the. You mean events and classes, or
maybe we could talk a little bit about our class a little bit more because we're still planning it out.
Oh yeah, and even that we'll get it halfway figured out, and then we'll just jump in, and then we'll figure out how to swim once we're in there because it's intuitive class.
Yeah, because we can't even every time we try to discuss classes or even podcasts, we don't even really get there, and it just ends up flowing the way it's supposed to.
And then synchronicities, people, and I'm pointing at a classroom outside our office here, so we have seating for, probably up to 100 if we get all the seats out, but we'll pack a lot of people in here, and they'll intuitively ask the right questions, or, hey, describe it this way. It's not even us giving class. It's a group environment where we're all expanding into the metaphysical or greater reality. So we're all teachers, and we're all learners. So that's how we go at it, again, by the seat of our coats or whatever you call that. And we kind of wing it. I guess that's a better way of putting it.
Yes, we do. Yeah. All the time.
That's kind of like this show right here, right? Yeah. Well, use intuition. So, and Thromos, what an awesome contribution to this podcast and the last one. Individuals like that chime in. Synchronicity, and that person may not have known we were going to be on, don't know the specifics, doesn't matter, but they're in here involved, asking the right questions so that somebody else listening heard the right thing at the right time. We're all on this podcast, and we're all sharing this reality with each other. So don't be shy. We're not. Ask questions too.
Yeah. So this class specifically will be about healing, and Derek always says how you're not in the process of healing. You're already healed, but as we're looked at as being healers, but really it's just manipulation of energy.
We just remind each other that we're already that. Yeah, like she was basically saying, I like to put it out that imagine, so have the energies structure such that you are already healed, not the process of healing. Because when you do an invisible energy work, and I'm kind of throwing my hands up here, so think Reiki, throwing Reiki in, and that's just one form of energy work. But often you hold your hands up, and it's all legit, energy's coming off, but it's not the physical body you're healing. you're using invisible energies on your invisible body, your aura, chi, prana, call it whatever you want, but your energy body that your physical body will manifest off of. So let's say you have a scar on the palm of your hand. Imagine and feel it, heal that scar in your imaginary hand, and as those skin cells regenerate, in skin's case, I think they say it's about every 7 years, when the cells die and regenerate, they're matching the blueprint of what you predetermined is already healed. Not, oh, I have a woe is me, and I used to have a big scar here from diving days. Oh, I've got a scar. No, you don't. Imagine it gone, and then move about your day. And again, it's not something you have to do 100 times, but just own it and know it. The more vested you get on all levels, the more it happens. So have your energy body already healed. Remember, no time. Then your physical body will be healed in a split second. And I know I said second, there's no time, but you get it. Yeah.
Well, we kind of have to have those ways of relaying the information. We have this language and these words to work with, so that's why we got to kind of do that.
Okay.
So I kind of, in this class, I hope to be able to share like how Derek does it. Well, he can see, he's clairvoyant, even though he says perceive, it really is also seeing. Derek, that's what Derek sees. So I'm like, if he could see these energies, of course he's going to yank things off that don't belong there. Or he sees something messing with that person, he's going to be like, nope, not going to happen. But he's also showing or helping the people to understand what's happening and how they can heal themselves. But he's in there, he sees it, he's going to kick their ass.
Yeah. Well, sometimes that's needed. I'll just
depending on situation.
Yeah, but I'd like to, and also what she's getting at on the bigger picture too, is explain the understanding behind it so that every one of us have an expanded understanding, and don't limit yourself to whatever understanding Derek puts out. Oh, heck no. There's so much more out there. Tweak that recipe to customize it for you. But yeah, you can do, and actually an add-on for that, when I have let's say a client in front of me or something, I'm doing a session, what I'm choosing, so I'll give you some vocal terms or wording, the way I do it, I'll choose to perceive the excess, and I talked about this earlier, excess or overage energies for that individual, and then they'll kind of heighten for me or highlight or things like that. So there's ways of doing that, and that's in your imagination level, and as you use your imagination, which is real, it strengthens or heightens, and then you can perceive it more. Just like if you're lifting heavy things here in the 3D world, your arms are going to get bigger, or your legs, or whatever you're working on. It's all energy. So work your etheric muscles as well, and practice. And don't kick yourself if you get a strain or sprain, in some physical analogy of lifting weights here, meaning you don't all of a sudden see it all, or there's something wrong. Doesn't matter. Keep doing it. You're going to trip, is what I'm telling you. But continue. You continue expanding. There's no end goal, and you're going to become more. And that's what it's all about.
So if he can see it, well, then he can remove it or move it and help the person. But for, I think a lot of people that are hoping to see are really feelers, or another form of how they perceive energy, like what their strength is. So for me, I guess it'd be feeling. So when I feel that I am moving the energy, like that would be my strength. So I guess it just depends on the person, what they're wanting to do. So this class is helping, because there's so many people that want to know how to do what you do, or how to heal. So it's like, okay, having the understanding of loving yourself and being able to, but how we're also to work with the energies. So
no, that's good. There's different ways of perceiving it, yeah.
But even having that awareness that if you're not necessarily seeing it or feeling it, that it's still happening because of your intention behind it.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it does. And you don't have to see with your physical eyes or third eye on any level anything, because that's just one level of perception. It's just like you have a plate of food in front of you. Well, if your sense of smell is gone, does that mean you can't eat it? You can't taste it? You can't feel it? You can't understand it's there? Well, obviously you can. So don't limit yourselves to perceptions or senses. Open up to them all. And then, by the way, again, put your imaginary energy, and I don't mean that as an imaginary fake, imaginary real, toward that sense or chakra or gut instinct or welling up of the heart chakra, whatever, and then again, that's strengthening that etheric muscle. You're going to perceive it more. And not everybody wants to see everything I see. Let me tell you, it can be overwhelming. It can be a lot, because if you don't understand what stuff is, and I don't understand everything by any means, how boring would that be if you knew it all? I wouldn't have any use to be here. Oh, heck no. I'm expanding all the time. And yes, that means visually seeing stuff, but because I've expanded firstly into armoring, love, knowing energy matters and feelings matter, I armor myself up first. And then once you're in the right state for perceiving, you and your, what I'll just call spirit guides, kind of help you out, or your higher self, to perceive more. But first, you got to learn about your raincoat before your friends shove you out in a rainstorm. So again, look at it lots of different ways.
Yeah, what you're saying about you don't want to see everything. A lot of people don't want to feel everything. Because feeling, can be...
And you don't have to. That's why extra sensitives or emotional people, and we're all emotional people, and that's a good thing. Well, but that doesn't mean you want to feel everybody's emotions when you walk in the room. Ties it all back to your etheric armor again. Choose to, nope, I want to pick up on that maybe somebody around me is having emotional, if that's your state of being, you want to help out emotionally. But that doesn't mean you have to feel it, so just be really careful. So when I do sessions in here, I make sure that if somebody has really bad stomach pain, well, I don't want to be jabbed in the stomach over here because I'm trying to affect frequencies. Choose your level of perception, and it's a thought process. A head game is all it is. Have an understanding, and that's where it begins.
And people can really feel all the other people that when they walk into a store, and it's like, well, that's probably why so many people have anxiety or those anxious feelings, because they don't have that understanding or awareness of the things that they feel.
And it's not even theirs a lot of the time. Yeah, especially grocery stores. Walk into there, you're going to feel angst and stuff, and there's whole reasons for that. That doesn't mean it's yours. You don't have to sit in it, and you don't have to, and sometimes I hear on metaphysical podcasts and things, process all that energy, run it through you. I'm like, oh my gosh, horrible idea. Why would you want to run these energies if they're not even yours through you, even imagining it? Soccer ball of love already in your heart, expanding out, removing excess and overage, so if it's not for you, it's gone. That way, if it is for you, because you walked in an environment, picked up an energy for you to figure out, then it's not gone. So, again, there's different ways of doing it. But yeah, you don't have to walk around in this reality feeling it all, sensing it all. Oh, no, that'd be a little overwhelming, as many of you energy sensitives know already. And they call it anxiety, things like that. No, you're extra special, you're extra gifted, you're extra tuned in, but darn it, put your raincoat on before you go out there in the rain, or every little drop or energy or emotion you're gonna feel it. And that's not always good.
It really is our superpower. Just learning how to separate what's yours and what's not yours, and why you're feeling that way, and going from there.
It is, and we're getting down, so what do we got? I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes. We probably won't hit the 2-hour mark exactly, and I'm not worried about it. Is there anything we want to...
So, we are closed this Thursday for the holiday. We will... Well, I know I'll try really hard not to work. Derek?
Good luck.
Yeah.
I'll be on the computer.
So the store will be closed. Yeah, I'm sure you'll still see some posts come from us, because it's always working. But yeah, so we're closed Thursday. Friday is Black Friday. We have a sale online and in store. So the promo code for online is thankful, and you get 10% off. And if you come into the store, it is also 10% off every purchase. So that's really awesome. Saturday is our Small Business Saturday. So if you're local to us, you come into the store, we have some sales going on. We also have our Metaphysical fair, so lots of great vendors and readers, and you can find them on our website at mysticalwares.com. So a great list of vendors coming in this weekend. And
they always swap out. So every other it's not every other weekend. December we're switching it up because of holidays, different reasons, trips to Arizona I'm going to be doing. But if you watch our calendar on mysticalwares.com, like Jalissa said, you'll see the dates. And then click on the Metaphysical Fair tab or option, and you'll see there what's going on. And we switch it out all the time. We get different vendors, so we're expanding in the community. So whatever they're doing, whatever type of widget, as I like to, jokingly call them, they're going to bring it in here, and they're all powerful as far as the energy attached to them. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It always is. Unique things. Yeah.
So we have a lot of stuff coming up. Future guest speakers. I know that Paranormal Karen or Karen Rontowski will be here January 4th with us. We have other guests and astrologists that will be coming in at some point. So just yeah, keep following along and seeing who we have come up. And thank you for bearing with us for our first live video show.
Yeah. We hope to continue these. Please give us feedback. Do you even, is it something worth keeping on videos or worth watching us? As I keep flinging my hands everywhere and showing things on the camera. But we do appreciate you being here. I had a great time. I think it went well. So.
Yeah, sorry about all my faces.
I don't think that was a big deal.
But no, thank you. It was great.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you all for being here. We had a great time. Have a great day.